Hi everybody and welcome to BPD Update. I'm Steve Strachan, your Chief of Police here in the city of Bremerton, and if you're a regular viewer of the show, you know that this show is all about one thing, and that is telling you what we're doing around the Bremerton Police Department and what our department is doing for you as residents of the community of Bremerton. If you watch the show regularly, as I mentioned, you know that we usually interview somebody or we talk to somebody about a particular topic. We're going to do something a little different on this month's BPD Update. We're going to do a ride-along with one of our officers. Quite frequently people will say, what's police work like? And there's lots of TV shows and lots of movies, and it's something that certainly gets covered a lot. And of course there's a lot of media coverage, good and bad, about law enforcement, but as you probably know, it's somewhere in between all of those things, and the job of a police officer is something that people are always curious about. So this is a ride-along with whatever comes up and whatever calls come up. It is with Officer Tim Garrity and our camera editor, Ben Blankenship. So now let's go out with Officer Tim Garrity.
I'm Officer Tim Garrity. I've worked for the Bremerton Police Department about 9 years now. Before that, I worked in Paulsbo as a reserve officer. I've been doing law enforcement either as a reserve officer and then, like I said, a full-time thing since 1995. So, you know, every day's different. You never know from 1 minute to the next. You know, it's one of these jobs where, you know, you could be, you know, just doing patrol, you know, looking around neighborhoods, doing that kind of thing 1 minute, and the next minute you're off to some sort of, you know, assault in progress or a robbery. We get called from, I mean, I've been to everything as an officer. I've been to everything from homicides to, you know, my neighbor's cat walked on my side of the fence calls. So it's interesting. You always got to look and say, well, you know, so every day is different. You really don't know what you're going to deal with when you start the shift. So you have to say, okay, well, what are we going to deal with, or what's going on? And, you know, like right now, we're going out to pick up some syringes, which, you know, yeah, I mean, obviously it's a public health issue, especially with the increase in heroin usage. You know, finding syringes used to be pretty rare, and now it's getting to be fairly common. The part of the reason why it's gotten so popular is that it's cheap. You know, heroin, it's a cheap drug to buy. You know, a lot of people, some people have issues with it because they can't get or they've abused pain meds in the past, and those kind of pain, you know, oxycodone and those kind of things generally work on the same section of your brain. See if we can find, just hop out of the car for a minute, we'll just take a walk, I'll see if we can find them. So what we're looking for is syringes. We have a, I mean, I've even had a guy one time that was running from us, running down an alley. He had a warrant, and he's, you know, injecting heroin into his arm as he's running down the alley. And as soon as he got the plunger to, you know, basically all his heroin in, he pulled the needle out, threw it down, and stopped and put his hands behind his back. He was more concerned that he would be dope sick in jail, not being able to get his heroin, than he was about actually getting arrested. He wanted to make sure that he had the heroin on board before he went.
No dice, huh?
Walk in and try to go talk to this gentleman here, see if he knows anything about it. And got a call of, some lady called and said there was like syringes like laying in the parking lot out here. You know, and she said by the old video store. You know, I was like, I know there's an old video store here. There's one diagonally across the street. So, did you see anybody? Have you seen anything like that wandering around?
Nothing like that. I mean, I have seen people hang out over there by the dumpster.
All right. Well, if you do see him, you picked up something, just call him, take care of him. Looking around, I'm like, okay.
I don't know of any other closed video stores around here. So.
Yeah, well, there's one that's used to be Blockbuster Video, but it's down by the QFC.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, it's like the old video store. Like, all right. Yeah, I don't think you can go to a video store anymore, can you?
No. Red box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, but yeah.
Well, I'm plenty old enough that I remember when they didn't have video stores. I remember when they, you know, Betamax, that's going to be the thing to have. All right. Thanks. I think where they're talking about, turnout here on 13th. So the way she's describing this is actually down on 13th itself, not in a, parking lot. So where I'm thinking we're going is right down here, and like somewhere like where you could pull your car off and park. So it used to be like down in here. We'll just kind of check down in here, over there. I'm just kind of take a walk around over here. Alright. I wonder. I'm gonna hold on to these. Okay. We had a burglary the other day, or like a found property detail the other day, where they found a bunch of old 8mm films from the 50s and 60s, like people's vacation films or whatever. So I'm wondering, looking at the pictures here, you know what I mean, they're obviously looking like vacation things. I don't know if they're related to the same folks or not. So we'll go ahead and pick them up and write a quick sup to that, what's called a supplemental report to that case number. Because if we can figure out whose videos they are, they're obviously somebody's family heirlooms or was important to somebody's family. So maybe we can get it back to them. Yeah, I would say we're always meeting people all the time. Some of the more interesting things about meeting people is you have to understand that we always meet them probably on a bad day. I mean, occasionally, we're gonna walk in there, like we're just up at the coffee shop, it's a lady I see every day at the coffee shop, that kind of stuff. But a lot of them, when we show up, they're having a bad day. There's a reason why we're there. We didn't just show up, to your party because we thought it'd be fun to be at your party. We showed up at your party because your neighbors are complaining because the noise is too loud, and that's why we're here. Most people are pretty reasonable people, generally speaking. I don't have a lot of issues with that. Most of the people are very reasonable, and obviously you have people that are just totally unreasonable too, that you have to deal with. But the longer you work in a place, you drive down the road and you're like, yeah, I was in that house, I was in that house, I've been to this house, I've been to that house. And sometimes, good people, well, maybe they were the victim of a burglary and that's why you're here. Other times it's been, I'm here to take, whoever it is to jail. They got warrants for their arrest or something like that. So it depends on, why you're there. And, like yesterday, I've been dealing with this issue between this gentleman out there on Claire for, we've been dealing with this for 2 solid weeks. I took 3 different reports yesterday on that case. Okay, so 445, stick 'em. Be out on foot just west of the Skill Center, checking a homeless camp. Just watch where you walk, because if it looks like dog stuff, it probably doesn't belong to a dog. One of the things that's typical that happens is one of those people that's homeless goes to jail and everybody else comes by and takes their stuff. I mean, that actually happens more than, so that when the person gets out of jail, their tent's gone, their stuff's gone. So there's like a, they had this for a while. They had the area up there that we just walked through. And if you look down below here, we'll take a walk down there. Looks like somebody's setting up another camp down below there. See all the sticks all piled up, so we'll take a walk down there. Right now we're just standing behind the motel there, Kitsap Way. But if you actually look out this way, there's a beautiful view out that way. There's lots of homeless people in Bremerton. There's even more of them as you move out towards Silverdale and stuff like that, because we've passed some ordinances to 445. Back to work. The 445's in the area. I'll go to the collision. So, change 2, we're going to a collision. 445's in the area, Kitsap and Crawford checking. 445 copy. Being out the acts. Okay, they're over there in the parking lot.
I was right behind him, so I went after him.
Okay.
And he saw that I was chasing them.
Yeah.
So he pulled over at Crawford and said, "Oh, I'll go back to the scene. I'll go back to the scene."
Okay.
I said, "Okay, fine." And then he waited several minutes before finally deciding to go back to the scene. And he came back, and then the gal was gone
Did he hit?
that he hit.
Okay.
And Syncom says she went home to Ford and called 911.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So.
All right.
Anyway, it doesn't look like his license
Yeah.
or anything, so I haven't
All right.
done anything.
All right.
So if you want to email me your case number, I'll do a sub.
Yep. Yep. Easy enough. All right. Yep. All right. So what's going on, man?
I hit somebody, panicked, and
Okay. Do you got a good license, or are your license suspended?
I
it's an
don't know.
ID
As
only.
far as I know, my Arizona license is still good. I lost a copy of it.
Okay. All right. Okay. You got the registration and insurance for the
Yes.
car?
Can I get it?
Yeah, sure.
Just he was leering me getting anything out of the car and stuff.
Okay. Well, as long as you ain't coming back with a weapon, otherwise me and you are gonna have a big misunderstanding.
No, I just got my knife in my pocket. And
Okay, I'm not worried about tools are one thing, that knife's probably a tool.
Yeah,
That's a
it
different
could've
ball
gone
game
through
than,
that.
445 to come dead on one. Okay, so your license is suspended out of Arizona.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Then I need to get on freaking getting one from
What's
here.
that?
Then I need to get on getting one from here. I didn't know that, or else I would have.
Okay, well, it's suspended. It didn't say why, but it's suspended. Obviously, this is an ID card. You can't drive with an ID card. You have to have a driver's license.
Okay.
Okay, so...
I
this-
figured I had it out of state. It was valid here.
Well, it's valid here. It would be valid here if it was valid there.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I hadn't.
Right. Okay.
Gotten one.
And normally, if you live here, you only have 30 days to change it to a Washington State driver's license.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Well,
either.
yeah.
Okay.
So far, we haven't found any insurance.
I
Okay.
have it. It's in here.
I'm waiting.
I know.
Okay.
I gotta
And then I'm going to contact the other party involved here. Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah. So why did you run if you got insurance?
I panicked. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just panicked.
Okay. Well, So.
It was stupid.
Okay.
Very.
Okay. And it's probably the whole hit and run thing.
Yes.
Okay, so there'll be some charges that go with that. If you got insurance, I'll let the judge sort that out. Hit him right here, I would assume, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What kind of car was it?
Black sedan. I didn't catch a make or model.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I panicked.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, he's obviously been here a while. I mean, his ID card was issued 1/16 of 2015. He has a Washington ID card. So he just didn't want to go get a new driver's license because Arizona has their driver's licenses are good for like 40 years or something like that when you get one. It lasts a long, long time. So you'll find a lot of people that they'll have an Arizona license. They don't want to go get a Washington license. Even though they're required by law to do it, they figure, well, I got a good license and it's good for the next 40 years. So why should I have to go get another one? So I'm gonna write down all his data. This is the deal. All right, I can go book you into jail. Hit and run, driving with license suspended third.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for out of state suspended. Okay, tow your car, because the company here is going to tow your car. Because they wouldn't like it where it's sitting, so they'd probably tow it.
Could I have someone come pick it up?
Well, I'm just saying, okay, all right, I can do all those things, all right, okay. I'm definitely going to charge you with hit and run. You hit and ran, okay.
Yes.
Is this address good for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you don't show up for court, trust me, I will come hunt you down.
Yes, sir. You will have no worries about that. I will show up for court.
You need to show up to court, okay.
I gotta get straightened up, man. I got a family to take care of.
Right, okay, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And, you know, if you did just stop, you know, we wouldn't be messing with the hit and run part of this, right?
Yes.
So, hit and run, driving while license suspended, and I'm going to write you a ticket for no insurance because you can't show me your car's insured. Okay, you are going to be the causing driver in the accident,
Yes,
so you're going to be responsible for all the damages to the other person's car.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, obviously whatever happened to your car, that's your business.
On me,
that's on you,
regardless.
regardless, yeah. Like I said, the charges, you know, the infraction for not having insurance on the car, $550. Okay, driving while license suspended, that's a crime. So the judge is going to do whatever the judge is going to do with that. And hit and run, that's also a crime. And that's going to be an issue for the judge.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm not doing is I'm not physically putting you in jail tonight because in a few hours you would get out of jail anyway.
Yeah.
And
It's just
we're not gonna
sort of.
we're, you know what I mean? You know, you were on, she said, yeah, I did this, and I panicked and I left. You know, if you were standing here going, I didn't do nothing, then I would just take you. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? But you know, you can look at the damage, it's not, okay? So that's where we're at. Any questions about any of that?
No, sir.
All right, well, good luck to you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Do here is we're gonna go up and we're gonna see the lady up on Price Road, the victim vehicle, and we'll get a, you know, take a look at the victim vehicle and go from there. I mean, I can, yeah, the guy was honest. He said, yeah, I hit it, I panicked, and I left. So, okay, yeah, but he doesn't have a license and he doesn't have insurance. However, that's not something the jail's going to hold on to for a long period of time, if that makes sense. So you were on the inside lane turning left?
I was in the right of, you know, there's two.
Two lanes, right.
Yes, I was on the right side.
So you were in the,
because I go, you know,
right, you're going to make a right and then you're going to turn.
Right to come up this
Right, okay,
shortcut.
right, okay,
Yes.
makes sense. Okay. So you were in the right lane and he was in the straight through lane and then he came into your lane.
No, he was behind me to turn. Then what happened was when we slowly started rolling, he decided he wanted to go into the straight lane. So what he did was he gunned it, rammed me, took off all the way into the far right lane and went up the hill.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I was trying to figure out, did he start over here and hit you this way? He started here and hit you this way, changing into the...
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. I just want to make sure I got
There
that.
is literally, I'm not even kidding, a piece of my brake light that flew up here.
Yeah,
And
landed up there.
I
Yeah.
don't know how. Pretty impressive.
Well, yeah.
But
Okay, so you got your driver's license, your registration, your insurance. Okay.
yes.
All right. I'm going to write down all this stuff and then I'm going to give you some information that's his. Unfortunately, he doesn't have insurance and he doesn't have a
I'm
license.
surprised he came back. Wow. I'm surprised he came back.
Well, you know, he had some intervention that thought that was a good idea.
Okay. Pieces are gonna fall out.
Well, what I would do is I would take all the loose pieces out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Secure it the best you can, right? I'll give you a business card with a case number on it. You know what I mean? And it's obvious that it got in an accident. You're going to need to take it somewhere to have it looked at.
Yes.
You know, you have to get it fixed. You know, all those kind of things. So, you know, I mean,
So if I drove it tomorrow to work, I'm not gonna get arrested.
no,
or pulled
no.
over.
well, you might get pulled over, but if you do, I'll give you a card, and they can. You know,
Okay.
most officers are pretty reasonable, saying, "Oh, well, you know, you got in a wreck yesterday. You have to
Right.
go to work, and you need to go get your car
I
done."
drive my husband's. I'm insured on both, so
Right.
maybe that's a safe bet.
Right. Well, I mean, that's probably a better idea, but
Yes.
it is what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, what I mean, get a hold of your insurance, and you know they can do what they got to do, and and you've obviously been down this road before with,
Oh yes.
so you know how those work, you know, like
Yeah.
preferred providers and all that. Okay. All right. Well, I wish we met under better circumstances. All right. Report-wise, you try to get all your reports done before the end of the shift. Sometimes you just can't, but you generally try to do that. And anybody that's in custody, that report has to be done before you go home. And generally speaking, collisions will be done before you go home. So That's how that generally works on the report thing. So at some point or another tonight, we'll stop and I'll have to type. It's just part of the thing. One of the kind of common jokes is, what would what episode of Cops do you really, really want to see? It's like, well, I really want to see the episode where they show the guy, and they come in and they start, they show the guy and he's typing, and then they go to a commercial break and they come back and he's typing, and they go to a commercial break and they come back and he's still typing, and then they play the music and that's the end of the show. Because some days that's just how it works, it seems like.
Well, it gives you a little taste of what it's like to be a police officer, and specifically a police officer in the city of Bremerton. I want to thank our camera editor, Ben Blankenship, and also Officer Tim Garrity for the opportunity to show us all a little bit more, again, about a day in the life of a police officer. It's important that we do that. Again, it's not dramatized, it's not scripted, it's not something that is viral on social media, because that seems to be all we get. It's little bits and pieces that are often very extreme about law enforcement. And the fact is, we don't do everything right and we don't do everything wrong. Officers are out there doing a very good job 99.9% of the time, day in and day out, and they're out serving you 24/7 here in the city of Bremerton. That's what we're here to do. We have about 75 staff at the Bremerton Police Department, like Officer Garrity. And again, this is some of the things that they do, and it's not necessarily extraordinary. It's not always dangerous. It's not always heartwarming. It's not always heartbreaking. It's sort of all of those things. So we will look to do that again in the future, periodically in BPD Update, because I think it's a great way to learn more about the Bremerton Police Department. Second half of the show, let's do what we usually do, which is to talk a little bit about what's going on and some trends and statistics and a couple notable events from around Bremerton PD. First of all, let's look at our stats as we always do, just to give you some idea of what's going on out there. This is from August of 2015, the last month for which we have full statistics. Our number of reports, and we're looking at the same month from the last 3 years, August 13, 14, and 15. You can see that we were well over 1,000 in August of 2013, under 1,000 in August of 2014, and actually all the way down to 838 in August of 2015. This has been a trend we've seen for 3 years running. We were traditionally over 1,000 reports every month, then went way under, and now we're down around 800, sometimes even in the 700s each month. That is, generally speaking, a good sign. It's not a perfect match for crime, but the fewer reports we have is generally a good thing. We generally take reports because something bad happened to someone. So for those things to be going down is generally a good sign. The number of arrests is also trending downward, as it has been, again, for several months. Again, that is generally a good thing. From 247 in August of 2013, we're now at 172. And I always have to mention this. It's not because officers aren't out there proactively looking and working to enforce the law. In fact, just the opposite. But the fact is, the number of arrests going down is, generally speaking, a good thing and a good indicator. Domestic violence is not really driven by law enforcement specifically, but of course by individual dynamics, and that number was 32 in August of 2015. The number of DUI arrests, driving under the influence of alcohol or other drugs, was at 6 in August of 2015. That's a little deceiving, though, when you compare that to the numbers in the 20s in previous years. But most of our DUI arrests are now turned over to the Washington State Patrol. They process those DUI arrests for us, goes to a separate court, and the reason that we do that is it's very time-consuming, and we now have a smaller traffic unit than we once did. So still a lot of DUI arrests in our city. Again, it's not for reduced enforcement. It's really because those are being turned over to the State Patrol. And then finally, mental health calls. We're at 14 for August of 2015. Very notably, that is specific mental health calls. When somebody dispatches us to a mental health call, doesn't mean that there's not a lot of mental health calls sort of overlapping and involving a lot of other areas that we work in. And again, we've talked about that quite a lot on BPD Update. Let's take a look at our frequent flyer focus areas. These are those chronic offenders. We're doing some analysis of our jail costs as part of the budget process here in the city of Bremerton. And we are looking at a relatively small number of people that are taking up a very high percentage of our jail budget, are taking up a very large percentage of our law enforcement time. People that are sort of those chronic frequent flyers that we're running into literally hundreds of times, and that's what we're talking about here. We're trying to focus on those individuals because they affect how our neighborhoods are. Trespass. It's a misdemeanor crime, not a felony, but trespassing on someone's property is something that has to do with chronic frequent flyers. That number was actually up a little bit to 25 in August of 2015. Thefts, however, were down from the previous August to 51. Shoplifting way down to 11. It was at 32 in August of 2014, down to 11 for the entire month of August 2015. That's a good number, and we really appreciate the cooperation and assistance of a lot of retailers that have worked very closely with us to reduce the number of shoplifting events. Most of those, by the way, are liquor. Most shoplifting that we see is people shoplifting liquor from stores. Vehicle theft was at 8 for the month of August of 2015. That is way down from 14 in August of 2014. And that's, 8 is still too many, but for a city of our size, that's something that, again, we'd like to see reduced, but that's a pretty solid number, pretty good number, frankly. Residential burglaries were at 16. Again, 16 more than we want to see, but certainly down from 24 in August of 2013. Non-residential burglaries, commercial burglaries, or any kind of burglary of a structure that is not a residence was at 7, which again is down from the last 2 years. Vehicle prowling also down to 16. It was up at 23 in the same month last year. Again, a good sign. And again, that's really driven by residents keeping an eye out and calling in suspicious activity when they see it. DWLS means driving while license suspended. That was up a little bit to 10. And then finally, malicious, I always have a hard time saying that word, malicious mischief was at 20, which is down from the year before. Basically, that's disorderly conduct. It's sort of what it sounds like. Malicious mischief is a term that this state uses, but it means somebody acting in a disorderly way. Let me talk a little bit as we move on from our statistics about our BCAPS volunteers. These are our volunteers that are out there in the yellow and black shirts. Very distinctive. You'll see them in parks or in business areas. Also doing vacant house checks. We've got a couple photos here to show you. We're now up to 15 volunteers in our BCAPS program, which is run by Tom Danaher, a retired Navy captain who's doing really good work with this. They're doing vacation checks. If you want a vacation check while you're gone, you can do that on the internet on our website, and we'll try to get out and check your house while you're gone. We're doing vacant house checks. If a home is not being lived in, we're checking those homes to make sure nobody's damaging them or entering them or squatting in those houses. They also work, the volunteers did on September 12th at the Minette event, a very good event, and they were there for that. And also were present at Blackberry Days along with our officers, which again was great to see the visibility, seeing some of our volunteers out and about. Last thing I want to share with you this month on BPD Update is this is a great photo. We have what we call the Fuzz Fund here at the Bremerton Police Department. Some of our officers have beards or goatees, which is against our policy, but we allow it if they donate to the monthly Fuzz Fund. And then we sort of rotate around and officers get to decide what to donate that month's Fuzz Fund to. It's usually well over $300. And for the month of September, the Fuzz Fund, along with donations from a number of other officers who all went together, we had sort of a competition between all of our squads to buy the most backpacks. And we donated all these backpacks. It was, I think the number was well over 80 backpacks for school to area young people. And I was really privileged to be out at Evergreen Park. This is a photo of a number of kids who received some of those backpacks. We certainly appreciate the assistance of Bishop Robertson and the Emmanuel Apostolic Church, who spearheaded some of these efforts. And the backpacks were not just for kids from that faith community, but from all over the community. We also had great help. If you see in the picture on the left there, those are students and cadets from the Washington Youth Academy. We appreciate their assistance as well. So just a great element of community outreach, and it shows that part of Bremerton that sometimes we don't see, and that is community members working together with the police, with the Youth Academy, with the faith community to do what we can for kids and to do what's right for kids. So a great way to finish up a little bit of summary of this month about what's going on around the Bremerton Police Department. So this month we had a ride along with Officer Tim Garrity, a little bit about what's going on. That's what we do on BPD Update. As always, we really appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time on BPD Update.